I have done the honest thing all my life. They could go and ask those 37 people or those 50 people who got licenses whether they pay Ramjattan one dime. I have never ever taken any money for any firearm license. And Glenn Lal of all person from 𝐑𝐚𝐦𝐻 should know that this thing has really sullied my reputation, and I'm going to certainly take him to court. And I told Big Smith, I am totally unaware of all this nonsense you're talking about. So he also will hear from my lawyers. I am really, really mad here. When I saw that thing in Stabroek, 𝐑𝐚𝐻 was it? I got very, very concerned. And I never knew that my phone was tapped. And in any event, I then immediately called the president, former President 𝐩𝐮𝐥𝐬, and I immediately called the commissioner, James. He was commissioner because I understand from the, this is the 𝐑𝐚𝐻 report, 𝐩𝐮𝐥𝐬 administration ordered police to tap senior AFC minister's phone, and then the allegations for armed robbery, cocaine distribution, and firearm licenses and all of that. The thing really, really got to me, so I immediately called them, and they denied that they ever did that. Mr. James and President 𝐩𝐻𝐻. And so I am very, very annoyed. And to put it on the front pages, or any page for that matter, because this is where, you know, apparently the responsibility of certain journalists and proprietors of newspapers, they seem not to understand. I saw it first, I think it was in Leroy Smith, Big Smith News it's called. Somebody posted it to me and said, well, what's going on here? And I indicated that I knew nothing of it, that gotta be fake news, and so on. So I then called the two persons I thought that ought to know, and they indicated that absolutely nothing of that sort. So I have now taken a lawyer, and a set of lawyers, as a matter of fact, who called me to say that this thing is, on the face of it, clearly libelous. And I know that, being a lawyer myself. And so the newspaper 𝐑𝐻𝐻 is going to hear from me. But it is scandalous. And what the 𝐑𝐻𝐻 newspaper tried to do also was to twist firearm licenses being sold for $1 million. On that issue, I just want to make it quite clear that when I went in there as minister, I immediately established, got the board functioning. And the board was exactly the same people that were there under the PPP regime. Bertie Sukai, Dr. Biro Hari, Kim Kite, I think, and there was another person. We did not change anybody. What we did sometime around 2018 was we added another person, another medical person. And that board operated all the time, right up to March, I think, this year, when the COVID took over. And that is why from March to about when we got out of government, that is 2nd of August, right? The amounts of the amount that I think was granted was about 50 or so. I can't recall, but I have a report which I had to present to the president of the country at the time around July the 1st. And this year it was 37 firearm licenses which were approved. The procedure is that you have to make an application to the commander of the area, and that commander will normally go and check out your neighbors to find that you are of good character. When you're filling up that application form too, you have to have a doctor's report that indeed you are mentally fit. Because remember that Middle Street incident where that fellow who was given firearms in 2014 or 2013 shot up and killed people in Middle Street and so on. So that was very important, a medical certificate that you are of sound mind. And that is also why we have Dr. 𝐩𝐲𝐬 there in the board. And then once you're cleared by the commander of the division, the matter then goes to the commissioner of police. And the commissioner of police will do a background check on you to see whether you have previous convictions and things like that. Once he also gives that a star, it is then supposed to go to the board. And the board is made up of these 4 members initially and then 5 members. And then they will make a decision. That decision is communicated to me. And then if it is a decision that you are not granted, or you're granted, I then issue that instruction then to the Commissioner of Police, telling the Commissioner of Police, it has been granted, please issue the license. It has not been granted for these reasons, and that's the end of the matter. But I also indicate to the Commissioner, please inform them that they have a right now to appeal the decision to the President. And that's the procedure. And you have to pass a number of tests since I became minister. You got to get your TIN number. You got to show that you're paying your taxes, because a lot of people love to want the privileges of the state, but they don't pay the taxes. There was a couple of other requirements. I think I have it in a report that I did, that very important report. And I could read that little passage out for you. It has to do with the licensing processor was strengthened. VAT returns, taxes, financial statements, and other relevant documents to support their applications must be now given upon application. These stringent measures resulted in a decreased approval rate when compared to the previous administration. And in that report, I have gotten all what used to be given from 2011. Prior to that, it used to be plenty, very many. 2011 I started from, and I ended up at 2020, sorry. And the amount is 2011, 2012, 182, 185, then 2013, 142, 2014, 80, 2015, a big portion of which was taken up by the PPP government, 150, 2016, 163 was granted. Then 2017, it was 91, 2018, 65, 2019, 99, and then 2020, up to the time of this report, when it was written, is 37. From that 1st of July to the 2nd of August, I don't know, it probably will be 10 or so more, whatever it is. I've tried to ask the ministry there for that amount, right up to my... They're not speaking to me. They apparently were told they can't speak to the former minister. But my report has basically up to the 1st of July 2020. The safeguards were always the commander of the division and the commissioner of the police must ensure. What generally goes to the board will generally ask back similar questions about the man's integrity and the mental state with Dr. 𝐩𝐻𝐬, and generally what the commander and the commissioner approves would have gone through. Because of the COVID as of March to when we came out of government, it was clearly a case where they were not meeting. They meet in a small room downstairs, and I indicated that they should meet. The secretary to the board indicated that because of the COVID, it is very difficult for them to meet. And these are things under the law I could grant. So all those that were granted were obviously because of the commander and the commissioner approving. And where this nasty insinuation by the Kaieteur News that indeed we were... The insinuation is clear that Ramjattan selling firearm license for $1 million. You know, I have never ever taken any money for any firearm license, and Glenn Lal of all person from Kaieteur News should know that. I want to give you a little background why this thing probably occurred and why all this dirt is being dug up. This is on the 6th, I was asked by the GATOS, that is the trawler associations, to confirm whether I am the public, the agriculture minister, because they needed to find out who and who were granted 2 trawler licenses. I did not know at that time about this issue about trawler license and so on. They then indicated to me if indeed I could get to know who it was and what the circumstances were. And I said, fine, I will certainly do that because that's my shadow ministry portfolio. And on the 6th, I did a press interview with Stabroek News, and I indicated that yes, I will be asking the questions in Parliament, and I had been briefed by the previous minister as to what this fisheries department and so on and how they go about and all the rules and regulations governing it. So I said, why not? I will ask. As a matter of fact, I tried calling the minister because Zulfikar is an old PYO comrade of mine and PPP member. So I was not getting through. And I was surprised because, you know, normally you get through to these guys. You're not getting through. So I said, well, I'll ask the question in Parliament. Then on some newspaper, I can't recall, it was the Friday, the 11th of, I think it was the 11th of December, I noticed a very nasty piece on the front page of Kaieteur News, indicating that Ramjattan tongue untied. You understand? And stating something to do with, I am barefaced to go and query about fisheries trawlers license, when I never questioned about oil license and all of that, concessions for oil and so on. So I did respond to Mr. Lau in a communication saying what nonsense he's getting on with. You know, this is crazy. What you're doing here? And I have it on my email, I think it's WhatsApp. Next day, you had this very nasty piece on me. And then the other day too, you had it. So I have sent it all to my lawyers. He will be hearing from my lawyers because it is on the face totally libelous. And he's indicating, of course, that somebody in higher government, most likely the president, and the commissioner of police, did the tapping of the phone. Now, even if they did any tapping, because assuming, let me say, Granger is lying on me when he tell me that no, he'd have nothing to do with it, or the commissioner of police said that they're lying. This is something that is very confidential. You do not go now because Ramjattan asking questions about trawler license that you're going to get so mad at cameras that you're going to do all kind of nonsense like that to sully my reputation. And not only he did it, but Leroy Smith from Big Smith News that called me to verify. And I told Big Smith, I am totally unaware of all this nonsense you're talking about. So he also will hear from my lawyers. And I'm very vexed because this thing is very damning. You understand? And then the actual thing about whether it's true or not, that also is something that bothered me because of the fact that it could have serious consequences here. The important point, though, is that whenever you do interceptions like these things are supposed to be top secret and not to be leaked to the press. I never did any under my watch. I understand that there might have been some done in the previous government's watch for purposes of cocaine and whatever. So it is important that journalists also know that when these things are leaked to them, because they're saying that they saw some document. Gildari called me to say that there is some document saying so. I said, well, they got a lot of fake documents around the place. Well, what's going on? And look, I have done the honest thing all my life, okay? And that is, you have led the examined life. Any reporter could call me at any time. And you know what? They could go and ask those 37 people or those 50 people who got licenses whether they pay Ramjattan one dime. Or ask all the others for the previous years where they ever paid Ramjattan one dime. And this fella, Glenn Lyle, simply... And you know what? Now I'm understanding that the trawler license were granted to somebody very close to him. And that is why he got on and got enraged like that. Now I am learning that. So I am really, really mad here. And this thing has really sullied my reputation, and I'm going to certainly take him to court. Take the newspaper to court. Because I don't know if you got a newspaper in your own name. By the way, I know that a thing or two about the newspapers too, because I used to be legal advisor for the newspaper. But this is damning. And you know, he plays as if he's a paragon of virtue all the time. And by the way, he always asked, the very first time he came out with the story on the 11th, he was indicating that my tongue was tied. Now that your tongue untied and you're asking about trawler license, why criticizing you? You understand? So I just cannot understand what it is that is going on here. But I want for confirmation the Minister of Agriculture to tell me who's the name of that person, whether them person are nobody fishing business and all kind of. 4 questions have been tabled in Parliament. One doing with who were the license given to. Was a due diligence done in relation to those licensees? Meaning, did you check their background? You have to understand that is an important question because, as the 𝐷𝐸𝐻 people told me, and Noel Holder in his fisheries report that I have now a copy of, I could share it with you because I'm the shadow on cabinet. I could share it with you. Just like I will share the firearm, my ministry's performance, indicated that since 2012, the PPP government, and I know this now, it has been confirmed by 𝐸𝐿, they had indicated that you had to lessen the amount of trawler licenses given to some big firms, like Pritipal Singh, I understand, Gopi, and Noble House and so on. And they reduced their thing. Now, these people got capacity, they got experience, and they got a good record. So the whole arrangement was that if any were to be further granted, it is these people who had gone down lower will get the license. So when I had asked those questions, I didn't know at that time when who were the people that got the 2 licenses. So I was wondering now that if you had a rule that was also important in the sense that the Marine Association, the World Marine Association, had indicated that only 87 licenses should be granted because that is what is the stocks that we have in the ocean out there. Because if you start going and doing more, you can diminish the stocks and then deplete the stocks. Okay? And that was the reason why an 87. Now, during our period of 5 years in government, I am now aware that there were lots of applications, but none were approved. And because of that thing, so as soon as you get into government now, the PPP, they gone, and 𝐸𝐿, I understand, is the one that has to grant the license, the fisheries license. He indicated that yes, it should be given to these associates of 𝐤𝐻. So this is terrible. And here it is, this paragon of virtue saying that this is what happened with the oil sector and all of that. I have argued already that indeed that oil production agreement that we made was one of the best decisions the government of Guyana under the APNU AFC made. We made many other very, very excellent decisions. One was to right-size sugar. And a lot of people don't understand why we did those. And I've gone through this with the 𝐤𝐻 news people regularly. You had Venezuela coming down on our backs, drawing a line. Maduro did a decree that all the waters out there belongs to Venezuela. By the way, Maduro had already chased out ExxonMobil from Venezuela. we also had a problem with the experts telling us that in 20 years' time, you are going to have so much renewables that oil prices will go down very, very low. You had also people who were saying that it is one of the best things to bring an American company that could take care of the Venezuelan threat, ExxonMobil, one of the biggest companies in the world. It was never a price taker like 𝐦𝐢𝐫𝐞. It is a price maker in the international market. You understand? Being the biggest company in the world, and so on. And for some other reasons, very, very important economic reasons, we wanted the oil by 2020. So if you make the decision around that 2016 time, you have to be decisive. And then also, we managed to get a better deal than what Janet Jagan had signed on to. Namely, from 1% royalty to 2% royalty and 50% share. And then we also got an $18 million US dollars. I don't know how much billion that comes up to in Guyana dollars. Signature bonus. And there were some other terms that were changed. But whatever it was a deal. You had to make a decision. The decision was the best decision in my books. You could quarrel with them and ask all kind of things. As a matter of fact, I understand the negotiation went that way with Exxon. And they said, well, they could, because they had a 40-year exploration agreement. So they could have locked off the well under the Liza 1 and Liza 2 and said, well, we're going to explore more. And what would have happened? By 2020, we would have not had any oil. Our oil monies, 50%. And today we got, I don't know, it's about 120 million US dollars already in the World Bank, based on the production right now. So it would have meant that sometimes the company would have walked away and so on. So, but this is a democracy. People like the Kaicho News and so on, or Christopher Rams, or whosoever don't like the idea that we entered, we did enter it because we were the government of the day. And they could talk all manner of nonsense. That it was a bad deal and compare it with some other African countries and all kind of thing. But fine, if you are now saying, well, fine, that is a bad deal, I wanted to know about the trawler license deal. What is wrong with me asking as a parliamentarian because I didn't have any idea who it was? Now you're knowing that it is Kaicho associated. So, and that is why they got so angry to go and talk all this crap about me. And, you know, you get a little riled up because these things, you know, you have lived, as I have said, with the integrity and the honesty all through your years as opposition in the PPP. Because of your honesty, you're expelled by Jagdeo as a senior leader of the PPP. And he felt that I was going to die politically. But you formed a political party in 2005 with other members like Sheila Holder and Raphael Trotman, and you did well. And you managed to see that this country has improved. And it is an important thing. Because of your existence also, the APNU AFC could have gotten into government in 2015. Otherwise, you could not have changed the PPP. And so this is what I am talking about. This thing is irresponsible, completely libelous, and the Kaicho News is going to hear from Ramjattan.